All right. So yesterday we went over insulin resistance and diabetes and that type of thing. So we want to carry the idea forward with dementia because while dementia has other factors with it, dementia has a lot of insulin resistance issues with it. So first couple things. One, the blood is supposed to be between 80 and 100 sugar. So your glucose is supposed to be, your blood glucose is supposed to be 80 to 100. Your cerebral spinal glucose is supposed to be 55-ish. And the receptor that moves sugar in your cerebral spinal fluid is a GLUT1 receptor, which listens to insulin. So if you've got high insulin all the time, we're going to end up having higher cerebral spinal glucose than we should. That's one of the issues. The other thing is that remember you get this insulin resistance. So it's not just that your pancreas is insulin resistant or your heart or your gut. Everything in your body is now insulin resistant, including your brain. Well, this is a bigger issue for the brain than it is for anything else because your brain actually uses insulin. Your brain makes insulin. So it's not just your pancreas. Your brain also makes insulin, but it uses it to communicate. Now, the places that use, this is always interesting, the places in your body that create and utilize insulin as a messaging system, one of them is your hippocampus, which is in your temporal lobe, which is responsible for memory. One of them is your cerebral cortex, which is your frontal lobe, which is responsible for higher executive thought, this critical thinking, that type of thing. Here's the other fun thing. Your frontal lobe, when it's firing properly, suppresses temporal lobe as well, which is specifically suppresses the amygdala, which is fear, hate, anger, terror, anxiety, that type of thing. So you're going to have more escape of the amygdala function. So you're going to have more of those emotions. The hypothalamus is also is responsible for insulin functionality, which is going to be, mood. It's going to be, purpose driven. It's going to be eat, that type of thing. And then your olfactory bulb, so your smell and your taste is going to be altered as well, which are all things that you see with dementia and Alzheimer's. So it definitely has a big function with, insulin resistance. And this is why people call it type 3 diabetes, which, whether that's the right term or not, it is what it is. It is what happens at the later stage of insulin resistance is really what it is. You're going to have insulin resistance in your body long before you have dementia-style issues. Now, if you start looking at dementia patients, you're like, all right, so is it just the insulin resistance? I would say no. One of the things that the medical system has tried so hard to do is destroy all of the things that make your body and your brain work. So one of the most important chemicals for your brain to function is cholesterol, specifically LDL cholesterol, which the medical community has done everything they can to convince you is the bad cholesterol. People literally ask me, is that the bad cholesterol? Is that the bad one? There is no bad cholesterol. It's all fantastic for you. Your body makes it on purpose. God made your body make it on purpose. All your hormones are made from it. Your brain is made from it. It's your primary fuel source. When we talk about your body running on fat, what do you think it's running on? It's running on cholesterol. Your body makes these things for a reason. So it's very, very important. We can go to the cardiovascular functionality of cholesterol and what's really going on later, but your cholesterol is super, super important. Well, what are half these guys on? Half the dementia patients I see are on statin drugs, which is actually more than that. It's the vast majority of them are on statin drugs, keeping your brain from getting the fat it requires to heal, regenerate, and repair. All right, so that's a problem. You got to make sure that we're getting the cholesterol in, which is why we also go back to the resolution of insulin resistance. One of the best things for the brain is a keto diet. Ketogenic diets have been shown to reduce, if not completely eliminate, things like epilepsy. So if we have somebody who's dementia, we want to remove that insulin resistance, but we also want to radically increase the fats that are going to the brain. There isn't a better diet than a keto diet for that, because a keto diet is specifically, a real keto diet is specifically 3 to 4 times the amount of fat for the amount of protein with 0 sugars and 0 carbohydrates. What ends up happening? We get 0 functionality, 0 production of insulin. So our insulin resistance starts going away. We have giant amounts of fat, not only for energy, but to rebuild the brain with. So yeah, keto diet's going to be chemically, not medical advice, a keto diet walked through properly is probably going to be one of the best things you can do for this. And then obviously you have statin drugs. Now here's the thing. Most of these people are old. This dementia and Alzheimer's isn't typically something we see in 20-year-olds. So what else is going on? the vast majority of these people, I say the vast majority because I can't say all of them because I haven't seen every single person with dementia, but every single patient I've ever seen or I've ever talked to is low on testosterone. What does testosterone do? It's your healing hormone. If you're trying to heal your brain or any other piece of your body, you're going to have to make sure your testosterone levels are where they're supposed to be. So you got to bring the testosterone levels up so the body will heal. Now, caveat to that, I would also like to add in any other regenerative function, like peptides that cause your body to produce more human growth hormone, which is also extremely therapeutically healing. Plus, it's made from your brain, so you get the brain to do what it's supposed to do. But anyway, so growth hormone would also be something we'd add in. The testosterone is mandatory. The growth hormone we can discuss. The other thing is that these guys have to start sleeping. But here's the other thing. We've got to look at their sleep, because most of the guys that I've seen, guys and women I've seen with this, have sleep apnea. So they're not getting enough oxygen in during the middle of the night. So what ends up happening effectively is, because of the insulin resistance, we're not getting sugar into the brain. So the brain can't make any ATP out of sugar, and we don't have enough ketosis going on. We don't have enough fat in the blood. So the brain can't make any ATP out of any fat. So basically your brain is starving to death because it can't create enough ATP, and it doesn't have the function to rebuild. And if you're not breathing properly at night, you don't have enough oxygen. There is nothing more damaging to your nerve tissue than hypoxia or low oxygen. And so half these guys, I'm the first person who's like, have you done a sleep study? They're like, no, like I can sleep. People are like, they can sleep. They just don't, they sleep all the time. They have dementia. I'm like, well, let's do a sleep study. You find out that these guys are not breathing properly throughout the night. And so you've got to fix that. In fact, caveat to the dementia thing, you have to fix the sleep apnea issues before the body will get over insulin resistance. Just a little caveat there. There's a whole pathway of sympathetic escape. And anyway, you got to fix the sleep apnea before diabetes or any of the insulin resistance issues will actually fully calm down in a lot of people. So just make sure you check that. So now we got oxygen. If you fix the sleeping problem, now you have oxygen back to the brain. But here's the thing. You know how if you tear a muscle and you're like, oh, I tore my bicep. And then you're like, I'll just never use it again and it'll rebuild. No, it won't. You've got to actively rehab it. You got to regenerate it. You got to go to PT. You got to lift. You got to rebuild that muscle. Same thing with the brain. So you have to start sending the information to the brain for it to process, deal with, and kind of grow with. Now, the best information it can come from is from the body. We were like, sit down and do Sudoku. Not really. That's not how the brain was developed. It's not how the brain was built from the ground up. Like when you're a baby and you're laying there like a water doll, at first, what made your body gain tone? What made it start being able to function? What made your brain start growing? Movement. So you've got to start getting these people to move again. Now, I'd highly recommend neurologic exercises like cross-crawl stuff. But one of the biggest things you can do is take these people to a chiropractor and get them adjusted. Because if there's one thing that we have research on that we've seen is that the chiropractic adjustment radically increases information to and from the brain. Now, this information to the brain, the afferent information, helps the brain grow, regenerate, and become what it's supposed to be. So get them adjusted and then go have them do exercises. And the exercises that we do are all neurologic in base. So there's cross crawl, there's single arm motion that's going across the body and coming back. We're doing things that are, full range of motion stuff, lots of activation of the muscle spindle fibers, the Golgi tendon organs, things like that. So we get this massive barrage of information to the brain that goes to the cerebellum. Cerebellum has to deal with, pushes the frontal lobe. Frontal lobe then deals with and pushes out all the way back. So this exercise is going to be a big, big, big piece of what you're doing. But that has to come after you've done the dietary stuff, after you've done the sleep stuff, after you've done the testosterone stuff. You've got to give the body all the things it needs to rebuild, then tell it to rebuild. This is one of the things I see, like, oh, well, let's put him in PT. I'm like, are you kidding me? With his trash diet, his no testosterone, his poor sleep, you're going to make the problem worse. I mean, if you tear the way you make things better in the body is you tear them down and then you give the body the ability to rebuild them. Well, if the body doesn't have the ability to rebuild and you tear it down, it just gets worse. This is what happens with a lot of people who go to the gym for the first time in a long time, haven't fixed their diet, haven't fixed anything else, haven't fixed their testosterone, their sleep is trash. And, they go in and they work out and they're like, I'm more tired, I'm more sore after I work out. Yeah. The point of diminishing returns is really short. You didn't do anything to expand your point of diminishing returns. And so now whenever you do pretty much anything, you tear yourself up. We see this all the time with chronic fatigue and Lyme's and celiac and things like that, where they're just not bringing in the nutrients and their body's just overwhelmed. So we see this a lot. So a lot of these guys who are doing rehab, a lot of these older guys who are in the gym doing the rehab, doing the PT, shouldn't be there. Like, they should be doing nutritional work, chemical work, getting the stuff in their body requires to heal, regenerate, and repair. Then they should go to the place that forces the body to heal, regenerate, and repair. Like this, it seems obvious to me. Maybe it's not obvious to everybody else. But so that's kind of the path that we take with dementia. The problem with dementia is that by the time you've got it, you're way further down the road than you think you are. So let's say that, like, think of it this way. You're in a bathing suit, and you're out for a long walk, and you're 2 miles away from your house, and you realize, oh, I'm getting sunburned. I should go home. Well, you've got a 2 mile walk back. You're going to get a lot more sunburn along the way. So by the time you guys are like, oh, this person definitely has dementia, you better jump on that the second you figure it out and start trying to walk it backwards, because you're out in the middle of a big lake and you got to swim a long way back to get all the way back. So this isn't one of those things you're like, well, we'll work on changing the diet sooner or later, and we'll look into that testosterone thing, and we'll think about doing the sleep study. You got to do it all like today. Like, get your sleep study done, get your blood pulled, get everything ready to go immediately. But the sooner you get on this, the better your chances of walking it out. So, if you guys are seeing this stuff, and your parents and your friends and you, whatever, get on it now. And a lot of this, like, well, I'm having memory issues. Great, that could be parasitic infections, that could be anything else, which obviously you have to return these people to baseline. So you got to kill their parasites, kill their yeast issues, restore the probiotic function in the gut. All of that as part of something that you do while you're working on diet to reset the gut. But there's a lot of stuff, but this is what happens when you start looking at the body holistically. Like, okay, let me see all of the things that are going on, and then we'll start addressing all of the things at once. And that's what holistic means. It takes you take care of the whole body at once: the nutrition, the exercise, the psychological, the spiritual, all of it. So that's really where we're getting into when we start talking about holistic care. But this is how you holistically or chemically look at dementia. And then you go, all right, here are the things that are associated with dementia. Let's go through systematically and just make sure that we've topped each one of these levels off. And then once you've done that, the thing starts kind of walking itself back. But if you guys have any questions, hit us up. Again, I would not try to walk through this without working with somebody who knows what they're doing metabolically. And statistically, that's not going to be a medical doctor. So get a hold of us, get a hold of, I don't know who else would be able to do all this. I guarantee there's lots of people who could. I just don't know any yet. Hopefully I'll meet them soon. But anyway, if you guys have any questions, hit us up, questions@chalmerswellness.com, or drop them in the comments, or just keep DMing me. You guys seem to love the DM thing. So I will talk to you guys later. Have a fabulous day. Thanks for your time.